Welcome, everybody. Alberg here with the Doggy Style Podcast, episode 41. As I leave Penn Station, ready for my walk, I have some good weight news as I broke through 170 again. Today is Friday, June 8th. So that was some good news. The Washington Capitals beat the Vegas Golden Knights 4 games to 1, which I did predict. I'm not sure when I predicted it. Maybe when the Golden Knights won the first game. Not sure, but anyway, I did predict it, I recall. But predictions, if you really want to test how well you predict things, you have to post them somewhere. That's the only valid way. Because there is a confirmation bias that you make a prediction, and if it doesn't come true, you forget about it. But if it does come true, you remember it and you tell everybody. So it's like making money in the stock market. When you make money, you tell everybody, and when you lose money, nobody's going to know about it. Or gambling also. Yes, I have a little pain today. And yesterday, let's see, we'll just go over a little bit about yesterday. I worked from home because there was a problem on the train. And if you listen to these podcasts, you know that. And it's 7:57 right now. And the wonderful smells of New York City, the aromas are hitting me. You know, sometimes New York can be very stinky due to garbage. I'm not sure why I'm smelling it now. So I worked from home, and I worked a lot on automation, full automation of Excel and processes I have. So I have a lot of processes that I have to manually press buttons to run, check things. And I recently got a laptop lock, and that allows me to have a machine at work that could, on a schedule, run things. So the one thing I ran into, which I do need to figure out, is how to deal with manual steps. So this one report I run queries. I build PDFs, but at some point in time, the data is missing some key values. So I'm trying to automate that, but currently it's a manual step. So I have to manually run some queries on another database, put the data into Excel, and then rerun a part of the process to update the missing ID numbers. So once that's done, there's another manual step of reviewing the data, which I guess I could automate. I'm just checking various things, and I could do similar checks in an automated fashion. And then after that, I send the review out to a coworker, and I have to do this 6 times because there are 6 different reports. And then I get back the review. So there's a lot of manual steps there. I get back the review. I have to then send to what's called a RPE, or a risk pillar executive, a sign off. So they get a report, they get some sort of email that says please sign off, and then I got to follow with that. So I guess the part that can be run, I have most of that, and then the rest of it's going to be pretty manual with buttons. I guess the nice thing to do, the automated, is I won't tie up my machine. I could run it at night. So, and if I do the review part, that would be good too. So I did spend time on that. Inside of Excel, the workbook has an event called Workbook Open. And in the Workbook Open, you can put any code. So my code is checking the name of the file. And if the file has the name autorun, AUTORUN, then that means that it's running on its own, and it has to go through a database table that has a schedule in it, read in the things that have to be done, and then do them. And then after it's finished, it's going to shut down. Now the way it's going to work is there's a job scheduler in Microsoft Windows, and that job scheduler will start up the process as I'm running right now. It will start up the process, the order run process. The system will open, go through the schedule, run, and then shut down. So I have to work on that a little today. More importantly today, I do have some deadlines, and I'll have to get out my reports. My boss was kind of a pain in the ass about getting them out early, and if that's what he wants, that's what I'll work on. And more, I would even like it so that this process does it, so I don't have to, again, tie up my machine, worry about it. Should happen automatically. So this is partially based on events. So the job thing would need to do better with events. Right now it just has a time indicator, but typically a nice event would be some table in a database that just basically has a flag that says the event occurred, or it could be a file existence if a file's created. So I will have to build in something like that. And again, this was fun. Usually my stuff at work has been pretty boring. And I did have one outstanding problem that I sent to a coworker that I probably should look into myself, because he's not, I'll have to remind him. He forgets a lot. Like, I gave him a test the other day and he forgot about it, and then I gave him another one, he forgot about it. And I've always thought that this guy had a second job, and it turns out he kind of admitted he did. So we're at 8th Avenue and 23rd Street, and you're hearing trucks go by. Pretty noisy. So one thing about the hockey game last night was I thought it was pretty boring. I mean, I was almost sitting on, I wasn't even watching most of it. I was looking at my phone. I'm not sure why. I guess a lot of stuff doesn't happen. I do like hockey, but for some reason I wasn't that excited about this game. I guess the teams are not my team, so maybe that's why. And you're hearing the beautiful city noises, ambulances. You do have to be careful with the headset. I have to wear a headset. And it would be very easy to get hit by a car by not paying attention. So I'll go through my yellow notes. So one thing, the Long Island Railroad changed the way they announce the trains. That to me is a little annoying, but they'll say the 706 is expected to arrive in approximately 3 minutes. The 706 is expected to arrive in approximately 3 minutes, and it used to just be shorter. It expected approximately. Those two extra words seem to me like a pain in the arse. I'm gonna make a little switch today. I'm gonna head down the street where school is, and then walk down 9th Avenue from there. Okay, so one of the things I'm doing is I guess in some way sabotaging what my coworker can do. I'm just making it harder for him to do the stuff that I do. And I don't know, I feel a little guilty about it, but it's very devious and it's kind of fun. And it does create some excitement, I have to say. So the idea is, so I was using this, my program, and the size of the file became 106 megabytes. Now at 106 megabytes, it becomes very hard to use use the program. It takes a long time to load. It's a pain in the ass. So I've took the extra tabs um, that were made the file bigger. I removed them from my version, and I stored them in a file. So I'm gonna when I save it, part of the save process will be to copy the extra files into it. And so this way the files will be really large. I probably should do it slowly, as I don't want I don't want it to get too big too fast. Like, it should be unnoticeable. Oh, it's 30, it's 40, it's 50. Another thing that he might notice is I've been deleting older versions of the code. And so only I have the older versions. It's pretty devious, but something gets me nervous about it. But something is really exciting about it. I guess it's like doing something illegal. You don't want to get caught. The other one was to force him to enter his user ID and password each time. And for me, it'll just pull it from a file, so I won't have to do it, which seems to be working. There's another piece that I'd like to break and make it work sometime. So it would be cool if somehow randomly his query wouldn't work. Okay, so I'm on 9th Avenue, and it's kind of a little quieter here. 8th Avenue has a lot of school kids that come by. So another idea I had the other day is I wrote down that when you get upset about, I don't know if that says bowling work stress from job, remind yourself how much money you're making per minute. So I was thinking about, I do make a lot of money, and I'm not saying this to brag or anything, but making a lot of money and doing work you don't like is okay. I mean, the reason I do it is because I make money. I mean, I obviously wouldn't do it if I didn't pay anything. I mean, if I wasn't paid anything. So I want to remind myself, and I'm thinking about, for example, I get pissed off about waiting. I could remind myself how much I'm making while I'm waiting, which would be that would be a cool app. So it could say, you got paid X dollars for waiting. Or it could be a way of figuring out how much money the company loses by me waiting. And that's a big thing I want to do. Upcoming is make sure that when I'm waiting for stuff that I have things to do. And that's another reason I've set up this process. A lot of the time I'm waiting for queries to run. And so if I run it on a different machine, it won't be as bad. Yeah, so I do have fun automating, and I'm thinking to look, I was going to say the should word, I'm thinking to look internally, something more appropriate to my skills and things I like to do. I'm sure I work at a very big place, a big company. I'm sure there's places I could use my skills much better. And then at the same time, maybe manage a group instead of just being managed by somebody. So, and work for some like a higher position. So instead of working for a vice president, it'd be nicer to work for a managing director. Now this can come with some negative things, obviously. But, there's also positive. There's positive stuff to taking risks. as I'm stuck at a light right now. Okay, so we got through that. Feels like I'm taking me a little bit longer to get to where I'm going, even though I'm walking with traffic. There is, I told you guys a rule previously that if you walk with traffic, it's easier to make the lights. But there's a one thing that won't work, and that is if you're walking on the side of the bike lane, they have bike turn lanes and car turn lanes, and you won't make the lights. So you have to walk on the other side. Right now I'm by a restaurant called Tao, which I've gone to. Um, in not this version of it. There was one on the Upper East Side, I'm going to say. Kind of a hip Chinese restaurant with nice bar crowd. Okay, so we got through that. I think if there's anything else to talk about. Yeah, so working from home, I don't know why, but I was in a lot of pain last night. Back pain. It almost felt like it was from hockey, which was over a week prior. But I'm thinking it might have been from, I did a lot of walking, not Thursday, but Wednesday. So I walked an hour to work, an hour home. So I got a 2-hour walk in. And I probably should get across right now, which is too late. Yes, unfortunately, the road gets wide here. Okay, so that was a mistake, but it's okay. I have to curve over. Yeah, so this, I should have crossed before. On 9th Avenue, it kind of veers to the left, so I have a long road to get across. That's okay. Be an extra 2 minutes. Okay, so that's that. Let me go through my book I'm working on. Oh, it didn't work out that badly. The light is green for me now, so I can get across. As I almost get hit by a bike rider. You know, I'm wearing, if you do wear headphones, like noise-canceling headphones and are walking, it is dangerous. And like, I don't even really need these headphones. I'm not hearing anything. It's more to hold up the microphone. So I just moved one of the earpieces off my ear, just to hear more. Okay, so I'll spend the rest of the walk going through my key principles of success, talk about some of my ideas that I have. So in terms of weather, it's a little warmer today. Right now, I'm going to say 70s. I feel a little sweaty already. Definitely not a jacket day. Okay, so we'll just go through. My key principles for success, which I have, according to my list, 1,367. Okay, so some of these will be a repeat, but I'll just go through them. Good to remind myself. I even thought about randomly selecting one and really focusing on that for the day. One of the reasons I'm writing this book is to help myself. These are what I feel are success principles, and I don't necessarily always do them. So today I think I'm going to walk. I don't walk the whole High Line. There's another kind of block and a half I could go down. And right now the traffic is bad on 14th Street. They're doing a lot of construction. again, I take a picture, but it's probably a waste because it's so hard to include it. There's the High Line from the ground. I'm actually walking by a place where they had the Seinfeld pop-up store a couple of years ago. I thought it was kind of cool. They made a store look exactly like Seinfeld's apartment. Okay, so I'll go many of these I can in the next hour. So, oh yeah. Nice thing about my list, I can filter by letters, I can filter by categories. There's a museum of ice cream now. I'll take a picture. This is where the Seinfeld store was. The Seinfeld. So I lost my shuffled list, which is a very nice feature that my software does. Is I have a list of 1,367 items, and it easily shuffles it. If I had a little more time, I might walk along the water today. Kind of feel like it, but I'm not going to do it. Oh, it's Doggy, yeah. So I passed 2 dogs, 2 pit bulls. Beautiful dogs. Pit bulls are beautiful dogs. Seem very calm, very slow walking. You can always tell if the owner's in control of the dogs. I guess I'm making fun of myself because I'm not. If the dog is walking with a slack leash, you know the owner is in control. So it's a good sign if you see that. Nice, nice street I'm walking down with bikes. Kind of like, I always wanted to create a book of buildings with these connectors. And okay, let's get back to that. Okay, first one I have is how not to manage people. So I've written something on this, but I would say number 1 is don't micromanage people. At the same time, it's like kind of some people need micromanaging. They don't know what to do. Oh, there it is. Okay, I wasn't sure how to get up. I'm on 16th Street and 10th Avenue, and there is a staircase here, which I was looking for. By the way, if you're looking to ride a bike, there are a lot of bikes, what they call city bikes here. And unfortunately, they don't allow dogs on the High Line. It's tough to get up these stairs. There's some sort of future of public space. High Line Network is a group of infrastructure reuse projects and the people who are helping them come to life. Learn more at network.thehighline.org. Interesting. Okay, so it is pretty steep, these stairs. Wow. I think the bathroom is right here also. But if you do come here this time of day, 8 a.m., it's much emptier. It's cooler. But I do love the greenery. Yeah, so the bathroom is right here on my right as I walk through the High Line. And I'm going at a slower pace right now and thinking, boy, I don't get to enjoy this. I really don't. It would really be nice to just sit down and work on my book here than going to work. But again, that doesn't pay me anything. So, and if I didn't have a job, I would be depressed wishing I could get a job. It's a weird thing. So it's almost an unhappiness with what I have, as opposed to being happy that I can walk this beautiful walk in Manhattan and also have a job. Even though there's problems with it, it's not really that bad. I think if it was bad, I would, or if I thought I was getting fired, I would definitely be looking. So I get like a mixed signal. And I do want to think about ways. So I do have this one-on-one meeting with my boss, and I could use ways to figure out how I'm doing. So now it's possible I don't get a raise, and I have a feeling I make more money than him, which is very possible. And that's only because he works in a low-paying state and I work in New York City. So just that fact might mean I make more money than him. Another negative is he has the same title as I do in terms of a vice president. And so if I wanted to get a promotion in title, which I did 2 years ago, and there's also just a lot of younger people who have a higher title than I do. And I would say when I converted from a consultant to employee, I didn't realize that the title that I had, what it meant. So it's something important to figure out, because I started as a AVP, and a coworker who got the same thing, who was a consultant, started as a VP. And so I was this AVP for many years, and then they would hire people who just didn't know as much as I did as VP, and that just totally triggered me. I was really crazy, so angry. So that's an interesting mistake I made, the title you take. And it happened again. When I transferred to this position, I didn't realize how many people had higher titles. And so I got transferred, and I knew I was getting a promotion. I thought I was going to get a higher title, but I wasn't sure. I didn't read. I didn't read the hiring note. And part of me thinks that they did that for a reason. It might have to do with like a diversity goal, that if I have a low title, they could give women and other minorities higher titles and say they have this many directors that are women, and keep all the men. It just seems like that's what they're doing. I don't know how I would even find out, if it would even help me in any way. So yeah, so it's important. I probably should spend some more time just thinking through this whole looking for a job. Something's really been preventing me from looking. I mean, even finishing my resume, that's something is all my business ideas. I always come to this idea, and it happened to me before, and that is, if I do look for a new job, even if I get an internal transfer, it's kind of going to be the same. I'll have to come into the office, I'll have to work overtime at a new job, which is probably a reason I don't want to go. I mean, even what I'm doing now, I probably couldn't walk. So it would be good to see. I mean, like, say, if I'd even be able to get as much money. So if I can't get as much money, I wouldn't leave it all. And not getting a raise would be more understandable. So maybe there does make some sense. But I do have to figure out what to do with the one-on-one meetings. So I have to think from a persuasion point of view of what's a good strategy. And I'm going to just talk through things and probably ramble on. So I'm going to try for the next bunch of minutes, just try and figure out what the strategy is in a one-on-one meeting. So last one-on-one meeting, I told them I was interested in getting a promotion, a raise, how I can move ahead. And I kind of know what the answer is. So I got to find what's important for him and his boss. And it's a lot of these visible things of of automation, of reducing the time to do something. So if I could, I do that all the time. I should be able to quantify it. I should be able to quantify it. Um, and even how I ask it. So I'm thinking I could ask, how am I doing this year? Is there a chance of me getting a promotion? That's one way. I could also ask, what can I do to get a promotion or a raise? So really what concerns me is number one is not getting laid off. I guess if you get a promotion or a raise, that probably puts you at a higher risk of getting laid off. If you deliver what your boss asks you for, you're not going to get laid off, I think. But who knows? I don't know what kind of confirmation biases he has. I mean, he obviously seems to have some already, because this whole fear of being thrown under the bus was something he brought up. Do have to. I have some notes from the meeting. I got to listen to it again and see if I did say something. I probably did. He sounded, and I do this in meetings. There's no question about it. In meetings, if people are getting blamed, and I feel like I'm getting blamed, I blame other people. Now, is that right or wrong? I don't know. I mean, part of me says I'm just defending myself, something that's not really my fault, something somebody else did. Somebody writes bad code and I run it. How's that my fault? So anyway, so back to the one-on-one. From his point of view, I'm not sure what he wants out of that meeting. I'm gonna guess he wants to get it. What he doesn't want stress from it. He'd probably like some praise, I guess. Everybody wants praise. Oh, Kurt, you're doing a really good job. Oh, so funny enough, when we had a new employee, we were introduced, and my coworker was, oh my God, what brown nosing, saying how great a boss my boss was. So that's something to think about. Try to give him, and again, I'm just talking through this. You can do this with your own bosses. And it's bad if you don't like your boss, because it's going to show in a lot of ways. It could be small chit chat that I could do with him. I probably should read, there's a book called The Liking Switch again. I might have taken notes. And it does describe a lot of ways to get people to like you better. So it's just something to consider. Yeah, so some of the other strategies I've been thinking about is, what do I need to do to get in exceeded expectations? So really, I have specific questions. They're on the raise, they're on the promotion and title, and there is on the rating. So I don't want to, I don't know. Can you imagine if you didn't like somebody and they were asking for these things? I could also turn it and say, should I look internally for a new job? And see what he says. I'm probably afraid to hear what he says. Oh, I mean, no matter what, there'll be some fear. I think I have the meeting with him today, so it's good that I'm thinking about it today. So one thing I know about persuasion is you want them to say yes to things. So if I want him, you want to get them to say, so yes, 2 questions that get a yes, and then the third question is your real ask to get a yes. The other thing is you don't want them to say anything negative about you, because once they say it, there's a commitment persuasion, and they're more likely to adapt or fight for their life to keep that position. Then I could ask the general question of how am I doing, and listen to what he says. you, because we having our semi-annual reviews are coming up, and I do hate this whole review process. But I really haven't played the game. I haven't, like I'm sure my coworker is probably doing it. He used to ask me stuff. I didn't like him because of that. He used to put me on the spot, but which is good. So in some ways, I'm wondering if I put him on the spot, ask a question, frame it in a way, so I could say something like, you know, I've done this, I picked this up really quickly, so yeah, I did something, something, something. So I guess one key is to figure out things that I'm doing that he wants me to do. I found a data error recently. Um, I followed a procedure of his to not do a review, and I could tell him that worked out well. So one less thing to do. So I got to get him to understand that I am also want to do less, but at the same time, it's you know, from my point of view, it looks like he wants me to automate stuff so I have nothing to do, which is kind of a scary thought. I mean, I could give him just an update of what I'm working on, and I could get an update of what the rest of the group is working on, but I don't really want that. I'm thinking the focus should be on me. So I guess the one thing that really ticked me off, if I was to think of something, was the lack of a fucking raise last year. You know, I mean, I did get a promotion the previous year, but I guess I should find this out. I should find out what are the odds of me getting a raise this year. And I have a feeling it has to do with diversity. That the men get paid too much and they don't want the men making more money. It's very possible. So so this is a good reason to look. I have no idea of what the going rate is. Part of my rate is that I do have good skills in the technology and the things we do. So that's worth something. I guess a new place internally is definitely an option, and I just haven't, like I said before, I just haven't been keen on doing this. Let's see what the time is as I got off the Highline just now. So it's 8:34. I've noticed, I'm not sure why, but when I have the headset on, a lot of people look at me, like make eye contact with me, when I know in the past I didn't get as much eye contact from people. So it's kind of weird. Yeah, it's really hard to figure this stuff out. What's the right thing to do and what's the wrong thing to do? So on one hand, it does look like I spent some time looking. The benefit to that is if I do get laid off, then at least my resume's in order. I've gone on a few interviews. I'm not going to do it in the summer, so just too hot, it's too sweaty, it's too embarrassing, too stressful. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to go on an interview and be all sweaty, so I probably should have planned this better. But so I have target maybe sometime in September, maybe late September, to do this where it's just not that hot. And it'll take some time, so, and if I get an interview, I get an interview. Yeah, I mean, ideally, I would like to work for a company that I could use my quote-unquote real skills. I'm not sure what that company is, but who knows, I might have to take a drastic pay cut. just a thought. Okay, so I talked enough about this. I'm going to move on to my book. So I had How Not to Manage People. So one thing a boss did, he laughed at me. I found some system. I had no idea what it was. So I said to him, I said, Doug, what's this? Are you familiar with the system? And he said something like, oh, you've been here 10 years and you don't know what that is? Ha 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 ha. He started laughing. I felt like 2 cents. I mean, my first reaction was like, F you. You don't know what it is either. And then I asked around people who've been in the project longer. Nobody knew what this software was. But I was able to use my skills in internet searching to actually find somebody within my company that knew what it was. So just I have a typo on here too. It says, being left isn't my idea of a good boss. Should say boss. I could actually edit it right now, which I will. It's one of the nice things about my system. The boss. Okay, so I'm on 9th Avenue. So I basically walked in a circle. I'm on 9th Avenue at 31st Street. I got off at 9th Avenue, at 8th Avenue, 31st Street. So to walk a block took me 45 minutes. More construction noises. Yeah, the building like crazy here. Okay, so I've updated that. So you won't see it if you look up this chapter. Which you can't see anyway. So one thing that is important is that you, and again, I think my boss was better at this than I was, but he had better access to stuff, is that you dig deep. Just if you don't know something, you got to figure it out. You got to find people who can help you. Find documentation on it. I know there's one thing I really don't understand that much. I don't remember what it was, but it has to do with how something called exposures are calculated. And I just had a list of questions that I got out of it. So, and it's one thing to write these questions down, which are all missing question marks, to write them down on in a book chapter. But the more important is, how do you answer these questions? How do you get these questions in front of you? And I'm thinking, while I'm waiting, it would be nice to be able to extract all the questions I had and try and answer them. Or research I need to do, or learning I need to do. I could do it while code was running, but funny enough, now that I'm automating it in a way that I shouldn't be waiting as much. So the questions are, what don't I know that I should know? So what don't you know that you should know? Somebody can ask you something, especially a boss. Your boss is going to ask you things, and you want to have the answer at the tip of your tongue for what they're. So you really want to know, what kind of questions does the boss ask? I mean, you should know this by now. If you don't, you got to figure it out, and you want to have the answer for them. Because especially when you first start, because when you first start, a boss will judge you in a certain way. And one of the things that I know pissed him off is that I told him that something took or will take a long time. And I guess he just doesn't understand it. Maybe I need to explain it to him, or he needs to do it himself. I mean, he said that a number of times. If that takes a long time, then there's something wrong. I mean, it makes it sound like everything should be so simple. I mean, we do have one of the things I could do to make things simple is refactoring, which is going through my old code that's inefficient, duplicative, and convert it to a single piece of code. So that way, if I need to change something, I can change it in one place. But again, it's not zero work. There's always new things. One thing I haven't done lately is get a new report to work on, and probably would like to. So I should ask my boss anything new is coming down the pipe. There's certain things I really don't like to do, and I do again want to automate as much as possible. So I think we're on the same page with automation. I mean, it's just that again, my fear is that the automation will put me out of a job, and his fear is probably that he can't fire me because it's not automated. Interesting. The boss wants everything automated, and the employee doesn't want it automated. Because if it's automated, then your job is at risk. Yeah, so it's a little warm today now. Now that I've walked, I'm a little sweaty. I got the tissue out. Okay, what questions might someone ask about what I'm working on or have worked on? One thing I do is I keep if I have a question or I don't know the answer, I have a list somewhere. That could be organized better to help me find the answers to something. So it does like to find, I have questions and answers. I probably need filtering as opposed to, right now it does, I do a find. So if I was looking for a term, I should just filter on that term. Might be a better way, and then look through. I have, next one is who do I get data from? So there's a lot of data I'm not even sure I understand what it is. The systems or the people, I could definitely do better at that. Another thing is just a thought is I need to look at my review that I got previously and the one coming up and see what's on there. See what I should be working on. That's one thing that I do not spend enough time on. So there was two ideas for when the system is busy. One was to read the governance manual. We have what's called governance process. That's what you have to do. Your things, and automate a lot of that. And then the other thing, wasn't governance, but it was something else. A woman just took some food out of a dog's mouth. So who do I get data from? Yeah, so there's a lot of data sources. I don't even know what they are. I mean, I know they're acronyms, but even the main report I put together, he's liable to ask me questions about it. What's this mean? What does that mean? Even some fields I retrieve on my own, I don't know what they are, or where they come from, or how they're calculated. So I could definitely do a better job at that. So that could be one of the things I do when I'm waiting, is that I look at what I'm working on, or I look at the things I don't know and I add them to a list. And the other thing was to have the questions pop up randomly And these could be some of them. So it says, who does the person report to? So if I get data from somebody, who do they report to? How do they create the data? What does the data mean? So I have a lot of data. I have no idea what any of it means. And I have a kind of looking stupid based on that. And again, it comes down to time, interest. So I have here, be able to answer any 5 WH questions. So the 5 WHs are the who, what, where, when, why, and how. So with anything I do, I should have these at the tip of my fingertips. As a matter of fact, I should have a list, these items on any subject that I want to learn more about. So for example, RWA is a subject called risk-weighted assets that I wouldn't mind knowing more about. So I should have a one page, or CVA is another one. I report on that in a couple of reports, and I don't know who's involved, what it is, how it works. So next one is, who knows the answer to this? So somebody knows the answer to this, and I would like to get a little summary. And all you got to do is set up a meeting with somebody, I think, and send them, or just send them an email list of questions. But there is a danger if I ask somebody what's CVA, for example, which it escapes me what the meaning of it is. Oh, it stands for credit value adjustment. And it's something to do, I'm not sure, but it's something to do with an adjustment based on the risk your trade is. So when you make a trade, you might get a commission for it, but if it's a risky trade, you want to take some of that, that's what I'm thinking, take some of that money away. Or you want to, I'm not even sure what you want to do. You want to do something. Next one is, can I look this up on the internet? So there's a lot of stuff on the internet, but there's also a lot of information that's not on there. So that information that's not on the internet is not organized well. So the question, and this is probably a really good opportunity for a business, is how do you better organize things you can't look up on Google? And I had this idea of the curse of knowledge executive, and they would be responsible for gathering this information. It would be kind of an anonymous way to gather information, to document stuff, to make it. They don't work for anybody, but it's their job to get knowledge transferred. For any knowledge that's not on Google, that you can't easily search on. Are there books on this subject I should read? So this is an interesting thing in that there was a book. There's a book on a topic that I'd be interested in, and it's expensive. I'm going to say it's a couple $100. I mean, I do have books on my business, but I haven't read them anyway. So the question is, even if I got the book, would I read it? And maybe I know everything there is to know on that. So, and that's called being a subject matter expert. So, wait, as the noise comes in. Next one I have is a test plan. So it does pay to have a test plan. It's hard to follow them. And one thing that's important is the person that tests should not be the person that's creating it. We kind of do testing, which is our review. But even then, we look up a number, but we don't really know how it's calculated. So I see a number, somebody might say, how did that number get calculated? I really have no idea. I don't even know who knows. So it's just an interesting dilemma. Ba 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 ba. Okay, so now I'm feeling tired, getting sweaty. A test plan is not very interesting. It's a technology term. So it's basically the list of tests you're going to do and whether they pass or fail. It's similar to the checklist we have at work, but I don't know if there's anything interesting about a test plan. I had some other better ideas, I think, about how do you automate the creation of the test plan. So any bug that occurs is something that can use a future test. So if there was a way to track these better, and then even I've been tracking some of the SQL errors I'm having. I do track them, and it would be probably interesting to either write some code that could find them much faster. It seems like there are better tools than the ones I use. Okay, next one is change what you don't like. So if you don't like something, not everything is changeable. I mean, I don't like getting older. I don't like my boss, but I could change him. And just because you change doesn't mean you're going to get a better version of what you don't like. It is possible you will get a worse one. But you could, if you're good at change, then you could change a number of times and then eventually get, hopefully, the boss you want, the job you want. So for me, it comes down to how much money do I need. Fortunately, I've stayed within my budget. I mean, I really don't have extravagant stuff. Some people have very expensive houses and mortgages. I don't. I don't have fancy clothes. I don't have a fancy car. And because of that, I do have some more flexibility. I probably, and there's that probably again, I should calculate how much money I have if I retired. I mean, one of the key expenses I have right now is I have 2 sons in college. One son plans on going to med school, so he's going to have to take out a loan on that. I mean, it's really nothing I can do about that. I just don't have the funds to pay for his med school. Yeah, so my foot is really now. I'm coming to the end of my walk, and my foot is really hurting now. So I'm not going to walk this evening. And it's 5 minutes to get to work. So change what you don't like. I'll just talk about that and see if I can make this light. You might hear me running a little bit. Some things aren't so easy to change. Right? I mean, you don't have control over certain things. I mean, if you need 2 people for something, you might not get a person that wants to do what you want to do. So the whole change, you can really only change what you do and your actions. You can't necessarily change other people's actions. So I want to get a raise. I could change my behaviors, but I might do that and get nothing for it. Aw, he's a cute doggy. So something to think about. Change might not get you what you want. But this whole idea of change what you don't like, one of the things that I do have is my success alarm. And if there was something myself that I didn't like, so for example, if I didn't like the way I looked, I could go get plastic surgery or other things. I mean, there are all sorts of ways. So physical appearance I could change. Health, if I have a bad hip, I could get surgery for that too. So there are ways to change what you don't like. My job, there's certain things I don't like about it. And I could change. I could either say I don't want to do this anymore, or, I mean, it's about time. I think I could do something new, but I'm having fun right now automating. And the thing is, I want to automate out my coworker's job, so I won't need him anymore. That's my goal. So it'll be less hours, it'll look better, and I'll be in charge of the whole process. So that's all I have for today. Anyway, one of the things I wanted to do is create a better tagline going away. So I have to remember to work on that. So today, that's going to be my goal today, is come up with a better way to leave the podcast. But anyway, this is Al Berg signing off. Hope you all have a very great day on this June 8th, which is a Friday. Happy Friday again. Hope you had a good time. Bye.